Love and Watches is a family-friendly podcast for male and female watch lovers alike. Perpetual Girl and Ranch Racer are a watch-crazy wife and husband team who've been wearing and collecting watches for more than 45 years. They enjoy bringing you the latest in collecting, interviews, news, and all things interesting in the world of watches. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Love and Watches podcast. This is Ranch Racer.
And this is Perpetual Girl. Hello.
And what do we got going today?
We have a couple things going today. We, for one, we're getting close to Christmas here and Hanukkah and the holidays. And I know everyone does a holiday show of gifts, and we're not going to go into that. No. But I do know that one thing I was going to mention is if you have the watch lover in your family, unwatch related gifts, I think, are a really great way to start if you're looking for a gift for the watch lover in your family. Accessories. So things like tools and watch rolls and all those good things.
Boxes.
Are really fun way to start. It just kind of popped into my head. But other than just that brief little fun idea, let's see, what else do we have here? More importantly, we have a watch in for review right now that we've both been really having a lot of fun with. Why don't you introduce it?
Okay, yeah. So this one, as our longtime listeners will know, we are big fans and have become good friends with the Swiss Watch Company folks, Stephen and Josh and his brother in Switzerland, and just a great family, good people, dedicated to basically producing very, very nice, high-quality Swiss-made timepieces at affordable prices. We've had them on the show a couple times, and so we've got a new one in for review. And it's been an interesting journey for these guys. They've been at it for a couple years now with their own brand. Prior to that, doing things for other manufacturers, but been at it for a couple years with their own brand. Very unique designs. And I don't know if they're polarizing, but it was different, right? So the original diver, the quartz powered sport, which should be shipping anytime now. I think the dial designs tended to, you either really liked it or you didn't. And so what I found interesting is with the Gen 2 diver, they've removed that one component of the design that I think was kind of polarizing, maybe a little bit.
Which is funny because I liked that part.
I did too. I really liked it, but
just goes to show you that everyone just has their own.
I guess it's just taste. It's not super mainstream, right? I think it's a little more focused, maybe. So the Gen 2 diver, they removed that, then the dial is a smoother, cleaner design. The one we have in is something called the Bunker. Mm-hmm. This is our first field watch, and not to spoil too much, but I've been very, very impressed with this piece. You're going to write a review on it. We might do a video review on it. It's a 41 millimeter titanium case and buckle. Just a really solid field watch. We've got the one in the beautiful cream dial. Mm-hmm. This is, I wouldn't say it's as unique as their first pieces with the dial design in the center. But I think it's more mainstream, and I think they're going to bring in more customers with this one. I really think they've just done a stellar job with it. Again, 41 millimeters, but only 10 millimeters thick. I mean, it's super, super thin.
I've been wearing it a lot.
You have, yeah.
And it wears really well on me, even with the leather band.
Yep.
And I never would have thought I would have liked titanium. And I personally am not this isn't a Flieger, but I'm not really a field watch person because a lot of times they do have that Flieger feel with non-applied indices, and this has applied markers, and it has depth and it has richness. The colors are all, really rich, and it just pops out. I'm pretty much giving a partial review here, which is okay, but I've been so impressed with it as well, and I've been wearing it around, and it's a really, really nice watch for a lot of different wrist sizes, even with the diameter of the case.
Yeah, and like all of their other watches to date, it's got a Swiss movement. It's a Sellita SW200. It's all assembled in Switzerland by a member of the family, one of the brothers in the family. and I apologize that his name is escaping me right now. But
we've had a rough couple weeks.
well, we haven't had him on the show yet, just Josh and Stephen.
Yeah.
But I think you guys are really going to like this one. It's the SWC Bunker. If you go to SWC USA, it's on their website right now. I think it's $400 to order.
Don't quote us on that. I think the pricing is a little different.
Let's see. I'm going to check right now.
I think there's an early bird pricing.
Price on their website is $399.
Okay.
So I don't think they're shipping quite yet, but you can order it. So I just, look for a review from us on the website. And I think I might even do a video review on this one. I'm just really, really impressed with what you get. A really nice Swiss made watch, mechanical movement, assembled in Switzerland for $400. It just doesn't get much better than this in my mind.
That's the key. And with this brand, it's not an overpriced, overmarketed watch. It's actually high quality, fair pricing.
Yes.
And it's making a good quality watch accessible.
Absolutely. It even comes with two straps. It comes with a really nice leather strap, and then the same strap I think that comes with the Sport, which is a Velcro strap that's kind of infinitely adjustable, so you can get that perfect fit.
And I wouldn't even call that a NATO.
No, it's not a NATO
because it doesn't go under, and you don't have these bulky double folding.
Correct. It's hidden
funkiness
still.
Above that stick up like the whole width of your case on top of your wrist.
Yeah, no,
it fits you really well.
I think they've, and I told Josh this when we were chatting back and forth on text, and I said, I think this is your best effort to date in terms of growing the brand, and bringing in new buyers and new fans of SWC. I think they've just really done a great job. It's got a nice orange tip on the seconds hand, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. I don't know yet if we're going to be adding it to our collection. I think we might be. I'm not, and like you, I was never really a titanium person, but boy, it sure works on this, doesn't it? With the cream dial and it's so light. I mean, you just, if any of you have titanium watches, you know how light they are. You just completely forget that you're wearing them. And I tend to like some heft to my watches, but it doesn't seem to bother me with this one. It's such a great looking piece. So there you go. We're going to get a review out. You already know what our feelings are on it, but we'll give you some photos and some wrist shots on both my wrist and PG's wrist. And I think PG, you're going to write that one, right?
I'm going to give it a shot. Yeah. It's, well, I wrote the Sport one, so maybe I'll have you write this, but we can do both a male and female.
Yeah, we can maybe tag team that review.
Yeah, but it's pretty versatile. It's not some of the color choices for the Velcro are like a greenish, like an army green, which gives it a much more masculine, tougher look. And the leather has a white stitching, and it's got a beautiful earthy Western, sort of like a saddle color. So I think it's really, really versatile. It's not, it's actually almost dressy.
It is, and it comes in this cream dial, a black dial, I think a black dial, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's like a blue-gray dial.
No, it's white. This is the cream.
Right, there's the cream, the black, and then this is like a blue-gray.
Oh, I've not...
A blue-grayish. I think
different.
It might be a new one.
That's different, yeah.
And I love the indexes on this because they're cream color indexes with the orange outline.
So that's brand new.
Yeah, and boy, that adds a really cool
Where have I been for
color
2 weeks?
Pop to it. Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on this. So anyway, guys, that's the SWC Bunker.
So that's 4 colors then. Black, blue,
I don't see the white on here, so they might have
white.
just gone with the cream because I'm not seeing the white on their website anymore. We'll have to ask Josh if they're still doing the white.
Yeah, it's on Instagram.
But anyway, very cool watch. We'll look for a review, and if you're looking for a really nice Swiss made kind of field style watch, I don't think you're gonna go wrong with this. It's a really cool looking, and I like the cream, but now I'm looking at that blue gray dial with the orange outlines on the indexes, and wow, I'm almost digging that one more.
You're the blue dial collection though.
Yeah, but this is more gray. It's a bluish gray,
which I wouldn't wear. So we have to think about sharing. Cool. Share and share alike.
Yeah. All right. So what's the main topic of the show today?
Well, we've done a segment on our podcast that seems to be very popular, and it's the Lovin' Our Listener Spotlight. And since for us, the most exciting thing about doing our podcast over the last 3 years has been meeting all these amazing people, hundreds and actually thousands now. So it's something that we enjoy doing because you don't have to be a manufacturer to be an expert or a enthusiast or a collector. So we don't claim to know everything, and we learn from people every day. So we thought, let's give it back to the Watch Fam. And I have a list of people who have reached out to me, and we're, going through the list. And I was contacted by a couple who have listened to our podcast for 3 years now, and they wanted to be on the podcast, and they actually have their own YouTube channel for their watch collection. So that's what we're going to do today.
And it was, we've already recorded we're recording the intro afterwards, and we could have gone a lot longer with with these gals. It was a lot of fun. We were a lot of laughter, and
so get ready to
really,
giggle and...
really neat people. So with that, let's get right to the interview, shall we?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
And here we are today, our Lovin' Our Listener Spotlight. We have a couple of ladies from New England, and they go by Penny and Empress. And welcome to the show.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, guys. Awesome.
And it's bright and early here on the West Coast, 8 o'clock. I think we're awake.
I'm halfway there. I'm on my second cup of coffee,
okay.
So I'm halfway to being fully awake.
And Penny and Empress have their account is a joint account. It's all in her movements, and that's their watch collection.
That's Instagram.
That's their Instagram,
and YouTube now.
And YouTube,
awesome.
Yes, that's
right,
recent.
cool.
And cool. I watched some of your YouTube last night, and you have excellent collection so far. What I've seen, I don't think you guys have revealed all of your collection, but I learned a lot about what you guys like, and I think we have a lot in common, the four of us, because there are things that I like that they're totally different than what Ranch Racer likes. So we'll kind of start off there with...
Well, and it's couples that collect. And
yes.
That's pretty rare. There's not... Usually you'll hear one to the other, but it's pretty rare to hear about a couple, both people collect, right?
Exactly. And women. So
yes,
women are a smaller segment of watch collecting.
Yep.
So I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking about some of these little questions I have here.
Yeah.
And to start off, introduce yourselves. And I guess a general question is, how did you get into collecting? Or tell us a little bit about how your watch collecting journey started.
Okay. Well, I'm Penny. And, as you said, our Instagram is all in her movements. It's all one word. And even on YouTube, it's all one word, all in her movements. And we just started that. I mean, we've had the Instagram account longer. We've had the Instagram account for a while. And the YouTube account used to actually be a gaming channel. And I kind of switched it over, rebranded it since I already had it. And but it was a pretty dormant video game channel. And so I guess, how did we get into this? Well, Penny, have a lot of hobbies. I am a hobbyist for sure. I enjoy a lot of things. And
sounds familiar, like Ranch Racer here.
and it's kind of like whatever I get into, I really get into it. And, it's just, I realized, so Ranch Racer, you're in the same camp. I realized there are other people like us that are, because there are collectors that just collect a certain thing and do a certain thing, and that's their, that's what they do. But then there are hobbyists who I've started to learn are a group as well, that we like to try out a bunch of different things. And for me, the hobbies are kind of cyclical. Like, I'll come back around, I'll get really into something, and then it sort of phases, so I'll be really into, for example, I mentioned gaming. I'm an avid gamer, but it ebbs and flows. There are times when I don't play anything, and then there are times when I play a lot of games, but we're into Lego, which is a mutual hobby of ours.
And Ranch Racer loves Lego too.
I wonder if you and I were like twins separated at birth.
We are collectors. these hobby folks. And I think in the watch world, there are several Lego collectors, several Lego people that are also into watches. So that's an interesting thing maybe to think about. So that's kind of my blueprint, is that I'm a hobbyist and I'm a collector at heart, probably. And with Lego, we have a pretty big collection. It's like our attic is a Lego city. So it's and on our YouTube channel, we have an old video of kind of like really early on in the game of us setting up the city. So it's like you get an idea, but it's taken over that attic basically. And it's a pretty big city, so we collect sets and we build our custom, projects and stuff. And then with watches, I always wore watches, and I never really went without a watch. But about 3 to 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, I wanted a watch that I was tired of the batteries dying. And so I had this little box of watches where the batteries died. And then it's like too much of a hassle to go to the mall and get the battery swapped out. And I would just buy another watch whenever a battery died, basically. And so I figured out that you didn't have to do that there were watches that didn't have batteries. And I thought it was the coolest thing. And I went to the store, was on a trip with my mother. We went shopping, and I told the woman at the counter that I would love to have a watch that doesn't need a battery. And I would say that she pointed me to the Seikos and to the Citizens. And she said, the Citizen Eco Drive and the Seikos that they had were all, well, technically we know the Eco Drive does have a solar powered battery, right? But anyhow, I chose a Seiko. It was manual, and I realized that when I didn't wear it, it would die. And so I didn't understand that. She didn't explain anything other than it didn't need a battery. So I thought I had a limit. And I was like, why do I have to shake this watch and fiddle with it to get it to work? And I just thought, man, this sucks. I should have just stayed with the battery watches. And so then I started researching that particular Seiko, which was like a gold-plated, dressy Seiko. And then I went down the rabbit hole. I found out that it was an automatic watch and you needed to wear it. And then I started researching. And then, like, a hobbyist, I got into the research part of it and figuring that out. So I guess in a nutshell, that's how I got into the hobby, because of that watch and the battery situation. And then, I'm hooked because it's easy for me to get hooked and fascinated by a hobby. What would you?
Wow. I since childhood I've collected things, little charms that they make young women collect little silly things throughout their life. And so I've always loved watches, but I never thought about collecting them. There's like this one watch that my grandmother had. My grandmother was a nurse. I knew I was going to get that watch. And so it's the Seiko from, I think we tried to time it
70s,
from the 70s. And it still runs. We only change the band. It still runs. I wind it up and it's great. It's a beautiful little tank. Yep. It's a beautiful little tank. And so I've always loved watches. And when she was like, ooh, Penny was like, watches, I was like, okay, fine. Okay, let's do that.
Nice.
Maybe you want to edit that part out.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I'm noting the time right now.
Thank you. I told you to say our nicknames.
We do it too.
Yeah.
Easy enough to edit out.
Oh yeah, and sometimes he'll call me Pete, Perpetual Girl at Home.
Yeah, it gets weird around here.
Hey, PG. Okay.
I'm used to it because I do these podcasts and things more often, so I just continue to myself. I'm like, that's my name. It's like a nickname more than anything.
That's okay. That's okay.
Trey is also a nickname.
So now the nurse's watch, that I know if there's the code on the back, you can plug that into the Seiko date finder online.
Okay, that's a good thing to know.
And that's we'll post that on the show notes.
I think that date finder gets you within like a decade, right? I don't think it gets you
rough.
exact.
It doesn't get you the exact year because it gets you a month, but then you don't get your decade. So if it says 9, it could be 1969, 1979, or 1989,
you have to kind of guess or figure that part out.
Yeah. So Okay, so now Empress,
So you guys, did you start collecting before you met, or how did that? I mean, so Penny, you said you wore a watch all the time. Did you kind of get Empress more into the collecting, or Empress, were you already collecting watches?
Oh no, I gave her a box of crack. I gave her a box
okay.
of watch
I don't
crack.
think you can say crack.
Listen,
okay, that's edit number 2.
Watch crack.
Watch crack.
Edit number 2 right there.
So I started getting into it very quickly, getting into Seiko a little bit, and then Empress's birthday was coming up, so I just bought her a watch box with partially filled with a bunch of watches, you know, an Orient, Open Heart, another Citizen Eco Drive, a few things. I don't remember everything that was early on in that, but got Empress a bunch of watches, and I was already in deep. And I think I had already purchased my Speedmaster, which is my first luxury watch. So I was hooked by then for sure. And then I started creeping in and giving Empress watches and start looking at them together. So we were not enthusiasts before we met. And then this all just sort of took shape after we were married, after we were together. By the time I got you the watch box with some watches in it, we were
enthusiasts in other things. So cologne, we were enthusiasts in that. We were enthusiasts in the Legos. But yeah, when Penny went deep into the watches,
well,
and when you are married to someone like this, you can either be, no, you're not spending that kind of money on that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's see where we can shift the budget and something really nice in the process. And so that's what it came down to. It's like, yeah, okay, we can work on this. I like that.
Well,
and the funny thing is I have hobbies that Empress won't get into. You know, like we have a few shared hobbies like fragrances and Lego, but I'm into cars. And I remember, you know, I was watching these car videos and you know, joined a car club and did all these crazy car things, and Empress was like, no, I can't go there with you on that one. I'm not into cars. She's like, I'm not into cars. That's not gonna happen. And so yeah, the watches was one where you actually could enjoy it too.
Well, also the car thing, you wanted me to take apart your car and put it back.
Right.
And I was like, Penny, no, I'm not doing it.
I'm not mechanically inclined, which is the hilarious thing, is that I get into some of these things, but Empress is actually the one who's really handy and really good with tools. So there'd be certain things I was like, let's take this muffler off. Let's replace this. And it's just like, no, I'm not going to help you, and I'm not getting into this.
How fun. So I think we need to look more at the DNA here, because
it's scary.
Cars are where Ranch Racer started out in his youth.
Well, that's my core.
And it's his core hobby.
Right? That's
and he was on the way to doing IndyCar, and that did not pan out. So he's a racer, and we kind of have the whole hillbilly thing going on here with there's kind of cars placed strategically around the property in various states of either rusting or getting.
I'll get to them, I promise.
As my eyes roll, you know, with the new hobbies. But yeah, no, you're a hobby guy too, and when he finds a hobby, he goes all in. So it's and then
you usually jump into like I got into the RC airplanes and helicopters, and that was not. I mean, you didn't. That was not your thing at all.
Yeah.
But most of this, I mean, the racing and the watches.
I like the drones. Yeah, those are fun.
Ooh.
Well, and it's you know,
but any ideas here? Right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we could really be bad influences on each other.
Yeah.
So it's interesting before we get into things like watch checks and all that, or wrist checks and all that stuff. What we're seeing here, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, is that frequently people that like watches are into other similar things. And you mentioned Legos. Well, it's mechanical, right? And I think a lot of us are very intrigued by the mechanics of a watch. Something that works, keeps time. You don't need to power it with anything other than a spring. It's perpetual, right? I mean, that's where PG gets her her name. And cars, very mechanical. You know, for
And
me, the
historical.
RC thing, there's skill involved and it's mechanical. You're working on them. So, I mean, it's very interesting because we've talked to obviously a lot of watch collectors, and we do find that that's a common thread that runs through many collectors, is that love of things mechanical.
Like EDC,
Yeah.
knives, pens.
Yeah, I love knives.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
knives are so cool, and pens. I mean, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I almost got into RC cars. Like our nephews are kind of veering that way and showing that. So we have I experimented a little with cars, with the RC.
If COVID hadn't happened, I
think
probably
I was on the cusp of
probably have
going
to race
to
track.
because there's some cool places to go where they have some tracks and stuff, and you can race them, and then all the parts like bins and shops, and it's pretty deep and it's pretty mechanical. I mean, it's pretty hands-on, like fix up your stuff. And one of our neighbors was into it, but he moved, so that also might have been
that was a saving
good
grace.
fortune. The guy that
Good for the
he
checkbook.
saw me driving one in the street, a little buggy in the street, and he was like, "Hey, you like that?" And so, and I think if he'd stuck around, I might have also gotten a little further in that. But yeah,
Well, you
I
can
think
also
there's a
look
common
in.
thread there.
Yep.
Have you tried slot cars? We have a slot car track as well.
Oh, those are fun. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
that's.
I have it. I'm gonna look
Oh,
that
oh.
up right now.
Empress is going to get really PO'd at you
I'm
pretty
sorry.
soon.
I'm sorry. Well, the slot cars are different, and there's less. You're not building. You're just buying the cars.
You can though. You
You
can work on
you
them
can,
and put
but
new
you don't
brushes
have
on
to.
them.
But
Yeah.
you don't have to. But you can buy your own track and make a custom track. At one point, we were renting that house that had a little extra bedroom, and we set up the whole room as a slot car room.
Yeah.
So we had all the slot cars, and we customized the plywood that it was on, and did trees like a train, kind of like a train set, but it was cars. And we had little parking lots with our Matchbox cars. We had a little parking.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we kind of
Yeah, I think slot cars are kind of interesting. I'm looking them up right now.
But yeah,
down
no.
a rabbit hole.
that was fun. We kind of geeked out on that.
Smaller.
So
Should we do some wrist checks
Yeah,
before
let's-
we get too
we should
far
probably
into
talk about
this?
watches a little bit. This is fun though.
yeah.
We're having fun.
Let's do some wrist checks. Why don't one of you guys kick it off and let us know what you're wearing today?
Okay.
You want me to go?
Sure.
I, Empress, am wearing the BLNR.
BLNR. I just call it that.
Okay, you call it the B. So it is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual date.
GMT.
GMT2. Yep.
It's the Batman,
on
basically,
a-
right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I guess they call it a Batgirl because it's on a Jubilee bracelet.
Yep.
Ah,
Yep.
Yeah, so it's beautiful, beautiful piece. I've been wearing it for at least a week now, and I
Yeah.
just love it.
Isn't that Jubilee
Yeah.
comfortable?
It is amazing, and it like in the light, it just sparkles and does all, like I'll be in a Zoom meeting and I'm just like, oh, finance, what's that?
Staring at your watch bracelet.
What's going on?
Yeah.
back to
Just
earth.
see the light dance off. yeah. What do I have to do now in this meeting?
Yeah. And we have separate collections, but the watches also kind of move freely between the collections.
Uh-huh.
So so
This is
technically my watch.
This is Penny's baby.
And so I said the other day, I was like, "You're probably the only person in the world I would let wear that watch."
Aw.
But of course, like your watch too. It's the same household, but I can't really think of anyone else that would be wearing it
Now
for
your
so long. But
are your wrists the same size? Are they close enough so that you don't have to resize?
well, I think mine is 6 3/4, and yours is like 6 1/2.
Yeah.
So they're similar. They're close enough. It just depends on the day if we size it, or if they have a micro adjustment, ability. That's usually enough to make it comfortable. I like to wear mine a little looser too, which is part of it, the difference. But yeah, so then I'm also wearing a Rolex. I'm wearing the Explorer 2 Polar 16570. The white dial, the 40 millimeter one, and It's a good fit. It's a good watch. My first Rolex.
I covet that watch greatly.
We almost bought one in Vegas a couple
We
years
almost
ago.
bought one. Almost.
We should have at the time.
I know.
It was, I guess, relatively affordable in terms of Rolexes, and we didn't because couldn't get the deal we were looking for.
Right.
Now we regret it.
Yeah, that's a beauty.
I know. That's the thing with Rolexes. I have a lot of regrets from the past of like, oh, I should have got that, and I waited on it, and then now these prices are pretty crazy.
Yep.
It is. Shall I go next?
Yeah, go for it.
I was inspired after watching one of your YouTubes. I'm wearing the Young'uns Max Bill. And this is the 2020. They call it the 2020 novelty, and it's the Max Bill automatic. They have a new version of it in the manual wind that's been out, but this is their first.
How they can make a watch that thin with the rotor
so
is
thin.
It is so thin. It's amazing.
It looks like, when you look at it, just first glance, it looks like a quartz thinness. And a lot of manufacturers talk about how thin it's 10 millimeters or this and that. And this is so, I think it's so underappreciated as far as the technology, but it's just beautiful. And it works so well with the whole Bauhaus feel of the dial. The Bauhaus, the simplicity, the minimalism, and
what's the diameter on that one?
36, I think.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right.
I'm trying to find it online, and I'm not able to find it because I'm having a little chemo moment here.
That's
but
all right.
But it is a smaller vintage size, but it's a new watch.
I think I heard you on one of the episodes was this the watch that there was some kind of drama with, maybe getting it or something? I don't know if you had like mail problems or there's something stressful. Was this one of the watches?
It might have been.
It was the one that I had actually bought myself. The
That's right. Yeah,
I had been looking at them.
I had already ordered it.
He had
as a surprise for PG for, it was either like, was it Valentine's
I think it was
Day
Valentine's
I think it was Valentine's
mm-hmm.
Day. I had ordered it, and then she
out of
bought
the blue
a different one online, and I'm like, you gotta be
What's
kidding
the
me, lady.
coincidence? I mean, our brains were, and he made me return it, so I returned it.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
that one went back,
which was good. I mean, I don't have a new mechanical wind.
Yeah, that you bought
piece.
the manual wind.
Yeah, I wanted to have that in my collection. I've been looking at a lot of vintage Elgins that had this minimalist, from that kind of Bauhaus era. But then this one he had already ordered, and it took a while for you to get. You had to go through a dealer.
Well, it wasn't in production yet, so
right.
Yeah, I went through a dealer in the Bay Area, but I think they got it to me on time. I think you had it for whatever. I'm pretty sure it was. It was
Valentine's
Day.
Because remember Valentine's Day, I did all these things for you, and you'd forgotten it was Valentine's.
Well, then it wasn't Valentine's Day. Maybe it was our.
Maybe it was our anniversary.
It was our anniversary in May. Yeah, so I had to make up because if you guys listen to the podcast, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you remember how I was in the total doghouse because I screwed up Valentine's Day and didn't get anything. I mean, it was bad. It was a bad scene around here for a week or two, so I had to make up for it.
I was doing stuff every day while we were at the track because you were instructing.
Yes.
And then by the end of the weekend, I'm like, dude, this sucks.
Yeah.
I bought you safety wire pliers.
You bought me all kinds of stuff.
I got you tools.
I had track brain.
It's okay. It was fine. It was fine. So yeah. So that's that, and that's this little watch has surprisingly good lume, so you can just go outside in the sunlight or hit it with a flashlight, and it'll glow all night. It really does.
Which is amazing for a dress watch. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, and the indices are tiny little dots, and they're really it's German efficiency. So
yep.
That's that. And I put it on a mesh. I put it on a Milanese bracelet because water and leather don't really
it looks good on that Milanese
with chores and being outside.
It does, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay.
I think we know that watch or one of the Young'un watches well because I got my friend a Max Bill watch, the automatic.
Oh.
I think it was a 38 millimeter though, and it's the Bauhaus design with the open 4 or the like rounded 4.
Right.
It looks so clean and so lovely. So I don't know if it's the same one that you're talking about because there's a couple of different Max Bills, but we we have seen it, and it was thin, and it was beautiful, and I almost tried to keep it instead of giving it away.
That was a really nice gift. Very thoughtful.
Yeah, no, it was a big event in her life, and I thought, and I was trying to get friends hooked in watches, so I was like, I'm gonna go all in and give her something I know she's gonna love, design wise, and see if that works.
Oh, that's great. And we've gifted watches too, and I got my girlfriend who owns the Waterfowl Rescue, I gifted her a Seiko 5. She had never had an automatic watch. So I gave her the Seiko 5, and she went down the rabbit hole.
She was our first
guest. She's a nurse, an ER nurse by trade.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, so that we've been having a lot of fun, talking watches. So it's.
But again, her husband's not crazy about us right now.
Yeah,
we got her into the hobby, and
I got in the doghouse a little bit. So.
All right. Well, let me do my wrist check, and then we'll move on to the fun stuff. So I'm going to join you guys. I'm wearing the Rolex Submariner, which our listeners have heard a ton about, and this is the one that I bought. I went completely rogue while PG was recovering from a surgery, and the funny thing is, and you guys own some Rolexes, so you get it, but it just. I rarely take this off. So we both have big collections, but I think most people that have larger collections, you probably have that one watch that sees a lot of wrist time, or maybe a couple pieces that you just keep going back to. And that's how the Submariner is for me. I wear it every night. Half the time I don't change it during the day. I used to change watches 2 or 3 times a day, but since I've owned this Submariner, it'll stay on my wrist for days at a time. And the funny thing is, it was never on the radar. I was never planning on buying one. There was the opportunity, and I tried it on, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Now I understand the allure of these things, and it's comfortable. It goes with everything. It's easy to read. It's the quality is amazing. I mean, it's just a phenomenal watch. So it sees a lot of wrist time on my wrist, and every once in a while PG grabs it.
I do
as well.
And we have some of those silicone bands that go on there, and that's a lot of fun for summer. And I grab it, and that makes it. My wrist is about 6 1/4, a little bit smaller now,
and I'm 7 1/2, so it is a little more challenging to share, but it's much easier if we have either a good size micro adjust on a bracelet, or like the rubber straps, or leather bands, that kind of thing.
But that's the one, like your Batman or Batgirl, that you can share because it's sporty. You can get away with a large case with that sort of a sporty with the Rolex, and that larger style with the Rolex is really it's attractive on women. It's attractive on everybody.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks great on it's not too big, which was a fear that I had. And so, Ranch Racer, is your sub the 6-digit version, like the 114060? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
it's
it is.
No date.
Yeah, so it's the wider lugs. Yeah, the maxi. They call it the maxi case.
The one they just discontinued, but now is probably soaring, I'm sure, in terms of prices and stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was looking at values of our collection a few days ago, and I was my jaw kind of dropped when I saw what these last generation Submariners are selling for. And it's interesting because I don't know if you guys have seen the new one in person. I have not seen the new one in person yet. Obviously because of COVID, we're not getting out, but I really thought that the new one would be hotter and that this one would not go up in value as much, but it seems like there's more love for the maxi case than I thought there was, given the value of what these are going for now. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Now, what's the program that you use that tracks the value? That's a good one. I wanted to
mention. I use Chrono 24, which is a buying and selling site, but in their app they have a function that they added, I don't know how long ago, that you can like put all your collection in there, and it tracks it tracks what they're going for on their site, at least.
Well, and that's good to know when you're insuring it through your home policy, then you can get your values for that. You can get an idea. Most, like our insurance company, still they require an actual appraisal from an official jeweler, but yeah, so that's what I got going. I'm curious, talking about collection sizes,
what size is your collection? How many watches do you guys have? Do you know? Have you lost track?
If that's okay, if we can ask.
Oh
that.
yeah, no, we have pretty manageable sizes. So when we got into it, we bought a lot of stuff. I'll just blame me.
Yes.
I bought a lot of stuff.
Let's
And
put the blame where the blame lies.
You're feeling around, you're trying to get a sense of what you like, and you're just
Right.
I was just excited, so tried a lot of stuff, but fortunately they were really affordable pieces for the most part, so we've since gifted a lot of those, like to family, to friends, trying to get people interested. And because we realized we weren't wearing them. Once we got a little further into things, we realized that we kind of have a core set of watches that, so we each have 5. That's the answer is that. Oh, I have 6 because I just got one.
5.
No, I'm counting. They're right here. I'm counting. So I have 6 core pieces. We are going to do a state of the collection on our YouTube channel. But if you separate what's mine and what's yours, I have 6 core watches, and I have 3 affordable watches now. That are in the mix, and then and then I like have an Invicta that I have had for years, maybe even 10 years, and so I don't really, but I have like some Seikos and stuff that are affordable. So 6 in the core, you have 5. We try to keep it balanced. You have 5 in your core.
We try to keep it balanced, but you will then not listen and you will buy.
Yeah, we're supposed to take turns. We're supposed to take turns, and I jumped the line. I just bought an Omega 60th anniversary Speedmaster, the trilogy one. Mm-hmm. So I jumped the line, and that it was not my turn. So there's a little.
The Speedies are.
So Empress gets 2 now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
She's in line for a pretty big Speedmaster coming up, the Silver Snoopy 3.
Okay.
So we're first on the list for our AD. So once the AD gets them, which he thinks he will get at least one of them. He got one Ed White, and he thinks he's going to get one of these. He says that we're the ones who are going to get the allocation. So that counts as Empress's watch, not mine.
That's a big deal.
Okay.
That's a big deal. We love the Speedmasters, and that's a whole separate rabbit hole within the rabbit hole to collect Speedies, because I have 2, and
I just have the.
You have the same one that Penny has. So we've got a lot of similarities in our collections. But yeah, the Speedies, they have such a heart, like with the coaxial movement as you know.
Well, yours has a coaxial movement, but
yours does
the
not.
Pro
but
doesn't.
Yeah, so they're like you said on your YouTube, they have the functionality and information. So they give back to you, and then that coaxial movement actually has. You put your hand down and it kind of keeps moving for maybe 10 or 15 seconds.
Yours is pretty alive. You're 38.
It's pretty neat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have the manual line. So we have 3 Speedmasters between us, and they're all 3 of them are the manual line ones.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's I don't think that's the coaxial movement, but it is the movement that is now discontinued, the 1861. Which was not even the historic movement, but it was like, like the professional moon watch has that movement, this generation. And then the trilogy has it. And then Empress has a Hesselite crystal on the front and sapphire crystal on the back. So she has the Hesselite sandwich, which is a weird bird where you can see the movement, but it has it's like a late 90s edition where they made it for a few years. So, but they all look the same. Except for the trilogy. The trilogy looks different because it's a different size case. It's 38 millimeter, which Perpetual Girl might enjoy that size too.
Yeah.
And it's got a chocolatey sort of grayish style. It's the when they did that trilogy set and made the 1957. So that's the one that I just jumped the line and bought. But we do love them. I mean, you can't go wrong. I want a whole collection of Speedmasters if I could afford it. I would infinitely try to collect them, but they're super addictive.
Yeah, and you have the unique ones, and I'm kind of along the line with Empress, where I like the idea that there aren't very many of like a specific piece walking around, like especially vintage. I may have a lot of watches, but a lot of them are eBay really good eBay finds for under $20. So I've got some vintage Seikos. I've got some wacky fashion from like the 60s and 70s that look like Wonder Woman bracelets. I really like the uniqueness of the vintage stuff. And it is like fashion where, fashion trends come and they cycle around every, 10, 20 years. And the same kind of thing sort of happens with the watches too, where you can look back and see some of the acrylic and some of the color pieces that were coming out in the 60s and 70s. And now there's sort of a resurgence of the 80s with some of these Swatch-like brands coming out with quartzes. So I really like the vintage stuff, and I like the fact that someone a long time ago, maybe in the 1930s, has worn a Bulova that I have, or you have your grandma's watch, that sort of thing, where in a totally different time, someone was walking around with this and, living their life with this watch. And I kind of like that, that nostalgia.
I love the vintage pieces. We have a 1953 Longines.
I saw that.
Am I right?
1953, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And the reason why we bought it was Penny knew that I was on the fence, and Penny knew that I love old things. I love old houses. I love old dishes. Penny knew this is how to get her in. And in this little shop in a tiny town, this one guy like sitting over his like collection of watches that he sells. Penny said, "Let's go there," and he had this 1953 Longines, and I looked at it and I was like, that one right there, that's that one.
Yeah, it's a tank. It's a tank watch, a tank Longines, but it has like a diamond dial on the indices. The indices are diamond. Yeah. And so it's a white gold case, I think, a white gold case with the diamonds, but it's a nice slender profile and look. And you like the fact that it's old, right? I love it. And I love that it was 1953 is the year my mother was born, and I lost her really early for my time, I lost her really early. And so it was like an homage to her. And it was like, look at this piece. Someone in 1953 saw this, created this, and then sold it. And someone decided to wear it to beautiful events or wear it to work. And I was like, this is it. This is the piece for me. And if you look at I always call, is it Chronos? Oh, Chrono 24, yeah. Chrono 24. Yeah. I always call it by the wrong name. She calls it Chronos.
That's the Klingon homeworld.
That sounds like a dream.
It's the Klingon homeworld.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's like, I love it. My page has the most, I have like searches for the most weird years, eclectic things that I've heard about, and I'm like, oh, let me see if someone's selling this, and so that's what my Chrono 24. Yeah, your notepads. My notepads are all like weird things that someone made once upon a time. Maybe I can find it for a really great price. Yeah, and then Penny's like, no, I just bought a new Speedy.
That's a beautiful Longines. And have you gone into the Bulova territory yet? Like a great storefront is Buying on Time. Have you checked out any of his vintage Bulovas and things like that? I might have gotten in trouble again.
I have looked at the Bulovas,
but
Bulova. I have not. Okay, Buying on Time.
Yeah, we don't know that one.
Yeah,
and a lot of estate sales. If you go into those small shops, they have a lot of Bulovas too. You can find a lot of cool.
You don't like going into those stores.
I do not know, but I'm saying you.
Boy, this sounds familiar.
I know.
I like new things that are reliable, and I don't know. I'm not a big vintage person. I can understand why people like them. But I also needed to work, and there's some quirks sometimes to the older pieces.
Right. That's Rand Tracer, and I like the old dishes. You mentioned dishes. I love
want new
old
stuff.
Dishes.
I want new shiny. Works good. I don't have.
It's a good balance, though, between a
guess.
couple.
It's really interesting how the similarities here, because it's the same thing in this household. I mean, you're really into the nostalgia and the history, and I guess you're kind of a student of history, and you love the vintage stuff, and it's like I want the latest and greatest, the newest stuff, you know.
Absolutely, same here.
So okay, I got one for you guys that I don't think is actually on the list that PG sent you, so I'm going to throw you a curveball. What, and you may there may not be an answer for this, but is there a watch that was like your biggest mistake? Like you bought it and then you thought, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I've got to sell this thing. This was ridiculous. I shouldn't have bought it. Do you guys have, or do you both have one of those?
Penny.
Yes, I'm holding it in my hand right now because it is a Seamaster chronograph. But it is a titanium and gold Seamaster chronograph. I think it's on our Instagram page somewhere, but we'll do a state of the collection so people can see it. And it's very thick. First of all, my grievance is I bought it. So I bought it on Crown and Caliber, like really early when I was hyper buying things. And I wanted some bling. I wanted something gold. And I also, I had the Speedmaster at the time. And I liked Omega because at that point I was like, I'm not a Rolex person. Who cares about Rolex? I'll get another Omega. And I wanted it to have some gold in it. So I got it. And it's really quirky. It's a Seamaster chronograph, so it doesn't quite look like a Speedy, but it's got the scallop bezel, the the helium escape valve. Yep. And it's got a shiny gold bezel. But then it's a brushed titanium case, a very like dark brushed case. It's a really odd bird, and it's got like red subdial hands and stuff, and the wavy dial, the blue wavy dial. It just has a lot going on. It's kind of busy. And I got it at first, and I thought it was cool, kind of, and wore it a little bit. But eventually I realized that the dark titanium, the color of the metal, or of the titanium, it's not close enough to silver, so stainless steel. So I didn't like it. It looks kind of dull, and it just had a lot going on. It's really chunky and thick on my wrist. And so, yeah, that was a watch that I grew to dislike and figured it was a mistake. I haven't made a lot of mistakes, but that was one where I was like, this is a mistake.
But hold on, we're not done yet.
and then, so I sold it. And I've since realized I have a keeper's mentality with watches and shall not be selling any watches again. You know, I'm banned from selling watches because I typically buy them all back. So I sold this watch. Empress had been wearing it actually, because I think I'd even moved it over to your side and said, I don't want this watch. Do you want it?
Oh, it even moved to a different box.
And I still sold it, even though it wasn't even technically mine. And because I was just like, no, I was liquidating. I was getting the Batman at that time, and I was just liquidating a few things, and it's like, I can let it go. And Empress was, made the comment that, oh, that watch was really unique. You know, it's a really unique Seamaster. Mm-hmm. You don't see it out there. And then she started bookmarking a few of them in her Chrono 24 searches. Like she was flagging them, and the same watch that we had. So I went back to the guy I sold it to. I sold it to a brick and mortar store. He still had it. He was like, I can't move this watch. It's very particular. Like it, and according to Chrono 24, it's not very common, and it's worth more than we paid for it. But that's only if you find a person that really wants to look. Right. So I bought it back from him, and I think it was last year. It was around the holidays, and I was like, "Happy Hanukkah!" Here's,
and I'm like, "You what? We sold it. Why did you buy it back?"
And then you're like, and I thought you wanted it. So we have this watch now with this story of buying and selling it and rebuying it.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. And it's not going anywhere, no matter how weird I think it is. And occasionally I look at it and I think it is kind of cool and quirky, but it's definitely Empress's watch. It counts on your side of the collection, not mine. So I have little to do with it other than look at it occasionally and say, it's not bad. You know, it's just a lot. And I discovered that I like really basic, simple, safe looking watches. And this is definitely not that.
Yeah, it's unique. It's definitely unique. And it's probably light if it's actually titanium. It's probably lightweight.
It's chunky, but it's not a heavy watch.
Right.
No.
God, that's a funny story. That is funny.
We haven't done that yet.
We don't have the story quite like that. No.
I'm trying to think if I wouldn't call the Bluesy wasn't a mistake watch, but that was probably the one. That's the only watch we've sold. The only big.
We've sold a couple.
We've sold a couple, but we had the two-tone Bluesy. That was my Grail. And it was the older, smaller
Explain
case.
to our listeners that maybe don't know what a Bluesy is. What is that?
The Rolex Submariner two-toned yellow and stainless with the blue dial.
Okay.
And this was the pre-maxi case. So it was, like your Explorer, your Polar.
Slender lugs.
It has a smaller, and it fit really well. And it's a beauty. It was a beauty. Yeah. But it was really blingy.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
As you're describing this watch, Empress is like practically salivating because she likes Bluesy. But one of the questions we haven't actually seen one in person. And one of the questions that she has is, I think, basically, how did you, or like we've talked about this, how did you like the previous version of it? Because you're talking about the 5-digit version of one of the 5-digit of the Bluesy, not the bigger maxi case, like ceramic version.
It was. I loved it. I mean, for PG, it fit her wrist better, right? Because she's got a small wrist, and even though they're the pre-maxi and the maxi are both 40 millimeter, and we always tell people don't just go off the diameter, right? There's so many other things that are important when you're looking at watch and how it fits on your wrist. But I think the non-maxi case, the 5-digit, fit your wrist better. And I think also because there's more going on, right? You got that blue dial, you've got the gold,
yellow.
It maybe is a little more understated than the larger kind of in your face 6-digit. So I think that is the perfect. If you're going to go with the Bluesy, in my opinion, I think the 5-digit is absolutely the way to go. But for us, it just I bought the 6-digit Submariner, but I kind of my thought process when I was buying this, and I had this worry. I was always worried whenever PG went out with the Bluesy on by herself. It just because it's so
it's flashy.
It is that flashy. It is the that's a Rolex, right? Just like a big date just, right? It's and I was always nervous about it, and I always felt a little bit self-conscious because I'm not a bling guy at all. I tend to fly under the radar. I'm the guy at the party that's kind of over hanging out in the corner, drinking a beer and not super social. And for me, it was just it looked beautiful, and I still think it's one of the most iconic, beautiful watches Rolex has ever produced. But it wasn't getting worn because I was worried about her wearing it. I was self-conscious about wearing it, and so that's why I don't know if it was a mistake, but it was just we weren't fully prepared for what it was and what it meant. Maybe.
Right. So it's like a journey. You buy what you like, but then as you wear it, you kind of learn that this doesn't quite fit my personality. It was super duper sporty, like you'd see it on the golf course, or someone with a really really nice suit on with a crisp white shirt going to a meeting, or it was more. But I also I was rocking it with a white T-shirt and jeans, and
you could wear it with anything.
It was fine, but definitely I was a little nervous about something that kind of was screaming, I'm probably expensive, and
I'm wearing a Rolex.
Yeah, hello, hello, look at me. And that was we ended up finding a really great home for it. A fella that had lost his original dad's watch. His dad's Bluesy lost it on a golf course. Pretty much the same year, so he was trying to find the exact year, and we gave him a really fair price, and it was he was like in tears. So it
went to a good home.
It went to a good home. But I do love the two-tone, and Empress. I think you mentioned you were talking about the Yachtmaster, which I've been flagging those two-tone, the older, like the 36 millimeter. With the rhodium dial, two-tone yellow. And there's a lot going on with that too, but with that bezel, it's
that bezel is just, it is breathtaking. And I saw it in person. That's when I knew. Prior to seeing that one in person, I was like, oh, Rolex, yeah, okay, yeah. Everyone's wearing it. Why is it so important? And then I saw it in person, and I was like, Yachtmaster? Okay. one.
And
I
you
could
could
do
wear that every day. You could wear that watch every day.
I would.
Yeah.
I would. And I would slug anyone that came close to me. Just like slug him. But yeah, the bluesy Penny just pulled up a photo.
They're amazing.
It also, they're amazing. And I'm one of those people that I wear when pre-COVID, I would wear dresses all the time to work, to anything. And so last time we were able to get dressed up, it was our anniversary and our friends were getting married. And I was like, oh, I could wear the nice petite Longines or this. And I was like, no, I'm gonna put on the Hulkin Seiko. We're going with a Seiko with this dress.
Oh, you wore the Save the Ocean Seiko to that,
Oh,
right?
no. So you have that one too.
No.
Oh my gosh, we have similar.
Big Seiko? Yeah, that's your big Seiko.
Did I wear my Seiko?
I don't know what you wore, but that's the Seiko that you have that's big.
I think I did wear my Seiko.
Yeah,
my
and
Seiko
you were wearing a blue dress.
Yep.
Oh, that would be
Yep,
pretty.
my
So that was
favorite,
like a
yep.
statement piece. That's a perfect,
Perfect.
perfect statement piece. Like you were saying, some women wear like a statement necklace, or you talk about jewelry, and you can't put a whole lot of jewelry with a piece like that. So that is your that's your focus.
Yeah,
your accessory.
It's my accessory. It's my whoa, and and that's. So when I look at this bluesy, I'm like, oh, I have this dress that would go with that, and that dress that would go with that. And I bet you I could, we could get a couple of pantsuits that would go with that.
Yeah.
And and that's what it's like, just seeing that, just like my heart is just like, okay, take this picture off here, because I'm not focusing. And so I'm like,
I mean, just hearing just hearing your personality, the types of watches you like, Empress, I think you could totally rock the bluesy. I mean, that would be like the perfect watch for you, I think.
Yeah, I think, and it's a question though, about safety and about what is flashy and what's on your wrist. And in general, I think that, the louder, flashier, like the BLNR, with the Jubilee bracelet, I've been wearing it. We're working from home, so most of the time I'm in sweats and just hoodies and, just dog clothes, playing with the dog's clothes. And I was wearing that I wore it for almost 3 months straight, just to test myself to see if I could stick with one watch. And, I did wear it in all these different circumstances, but it does even that stands out because of the Jubilee bracelet.
Yeah, the light catches it.
Yeah, that a gold watch or a two-tone watch, the Seamaster that we're talking about doesn't work in that way, because it's a duller look, but those Rolexes that are two-tone are gonna pop, and the bluesy looks like it pops, and that is a question. But Empress is convinced that she can wear it and pull it off, and people won't really notice. She's so fabulously dressed and styled.
Well, and you can.
It would just work. It would just work.
It would work. And if they got too close, I'm gonna slug them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I actually had started out with my Invicta Donald Duck, because I love Donald Duck. We love ducks and geese because we have the pets, and I got the two-tone bluesy homage with Donald on it. So I do still have a yellow two-tone with the blue dial, but it's the Invicta with the Seiko movement. But that's a fun one too. I mean,
and if you ever got held up at gunpoint,
I could just hand it,
take it off and go, here you go, enjoy.
Yeah,
there is something to be said about not worrying.
That's true, yeah.
And that's a whole other topic.
Well, I don't like your date. That was a birthday watch, I think, right?
That was my 50th
your
birthday.
50th birthday watch, and that one, if you wear that like if we're going out together, right? If we're like, but other than that, you wear it a lot at home.
I wear it at home,
even before COVID.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of watches that are like that smaller. It's a 31 millimeter two-tone, and Seiko and Citizen and everyone made them, so you don't always know what's on someone's wrist unless you get up pretty close. But yeah, I probably wouldn't wear that out alone. So
yeah.
But okay, let's get back to our questions here. So now how we're going to have to edit this out because I'm having a chemo moment here.
That's okay. I don't care about chemo moments. They can stay in. The less editing for me, the better.
Okay.
Oh,
so
what about the Like, how do your families? What do your families think about your watch collecting? They think you're crazy? Do they know about it?
Some of them know about it. I think, well, we've tried to get people in. Like I said, we kind of thinned out a lot of our watches by giving them to folks, and some people know about it. They don't really think. My mom doesn't understand it entirely, but she's into jewelry and, you know, rings and necklaces and things and like handbags. And so once I was able to show her that the watches are probably equivalent to her collection of all of that other stuff. And, you know, like really nice rings or something, you know, that in terms, she didn't get the price point thing, you know, which is a lot of, like, there's a lot of sticker shock around that, you know, and so I think that she was the only one. Most people don't really think much about it. And most people say, because they know I'm a hobbyist, you're not going to get me hooked on this. You know, they see me coming a mile away and I'm like, hey, you know, do you wear a watch? Or, you know, hey, I noticed you're not wearing a watch. And they just kind of run for the hills. So
it's like, hey, little girl, you want to try this?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, and handbags
So,
can be
Yeah.
really expensive.
Oh yeah, the handbags, the shoes, the diamond rings and stuff.
She has like red bottom heels. I'm like, yeah, the price of that red bottom heel
Yeah,
you got there. I was like,
she got it once I made that comparison that I don't have those things. And I'm also, unlike Empress, I don't style. Like, I'm not a girly girl. I style very conservatively. You know, I wear suits and stuff. And, you know, so, you know, my mom never expected that I would get into handbags. You know,
Oh,
that was not
funny.
an And so once I made that comparison, like, these are my handbags. The watches are like that for me. She kind of got it, you know, but yeah, people don't really think that much about it. We also try not to talk about it too much, like specifics, just because, you know, even though we don't keep our watches at home, you never know about people thinking about opportunity or,
Right.
hey, what, you know, you've got all these fancy watches. And it really isn't that much, but it is still, you know, for most people, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, period. So we try to be thoughtful about that and responsible in keeping them in the safety deposit box and insuring them and all of that kind of thing. But I think people are more just don't really get, most people don't really get why you even wear a watch these days, because you don't have to. You know, so I think that's really the main part of it is most people prefer their phones. And so that's a little bit of an uphill battle, but our nephews have some promise. They're young, and so we're able to get them a little curious about watches. So we're hopeful that, you know, they will get into it as they grow up, and we give them, you know, Casios and other Timexes and other watches as gifts, you know, when it's their birthday and stuff. So we think that we'll have some budding watch enthusiasts in the family at some point. My brother he's another person. We got a gift box of a watch box half full of boxes.
Wow.
Like a G-Shock. I got him a Bulova, just a nice little kind of like starter set, and he's all in. He actually is all in at this point. So yeah, so there's a range, but
And there's
hear our dog whine.
Oh, that's okay. there's a lot of flexibility in like the Casio and the, you know, the lower end where you can get a great watch for $20. The World Time. I mean, there are so many great things to start someone out, and they can collect on a budget. Like we gave my nephew a Seiko 5, and then for another gift I gave him a bracelet, a band for it. So you can give watch related gifts that aren't actually a watch too. So it's
right.
You know, some of the things that we talk about. But yeah. So
yeah.
Other than now you're talking about how this bluesy is the must have for Empress as a grail. Do you have anything on your radar at the moment that you're really looking to buy? I can't remember if you mentioned it on your YouTube, but
or even like grails that are maybe just out of reach, but it's like, wow, that's a dream. I'd love to own that someday. Like almost the unobtainable, right?
Well, I think that we're in line, hopefully, for that silver Snoopy.
Yes.
Which, being Speedmaster fans, Snoopy goes around the moon. Like, what else do you need
I
in a
know.
watch?
It's incredible.
Around the moon and the case back. So if that comes through, I know that Omega is very, very slowly easing them out. So it may take a while if we have that opportunity. So that's something that we're holding tight for to see in 2021, if that can come through. And a Submariner, Ranch Racer, I was being so specific about, hey, which sub do you have? Because I don't have a sub. I have a Tudor Black Bay 58, which I thought was going to quell the sub desires at some point. When I actively didn't want a sub when I bought that, but now I actively do. So after the Silver Snoopy, if I can get one of the new subs at retail, this is all, these might as well be dreams. I mean, we have a relationship with an A&D. So, and he says it's not impossible, so we got the BLNR from him. So I do believe that that'll come through, especially if I told him I wanted the green one. I was like, can I get a green sub?
With the black dial?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
So who knows if that's the case, but I think at least a no date sub would be, the no date, version would be great. So that's going to tie us up for a while, planning and hoping for those things. We'll see. Mm-hmm. And with everything in the world, it's all possibly fiction anyhow. We have to sort of see what, hopefully 2021 will be a much, much, much better year. And then, we can enjoy looking forward to those pieces.
And those are good investment pieces as well.
Yeah.
I kind of had my eye on the Frank Stella Rolex, the inspired the new Oyster Perpetual colors. And I absolutely love that coral red. Mm-hmm. But the 36 millimeter, I think, is a unicorn. I don't know if
the dealers don't seem to be getting a lot of the 36s. I think the 41 is more.
And I can't pull off a 39 even. That's even the lugs hang over the side of my wrist. I could always try it on a rubber bracelet, but 41 would not. That would be too big.
Not work. Yeah, I hope they do stock the 36s because I think the three-hander Rolexes, to me, 36 is such a sweet spot. Even the Datejust and the Explorer, I like the Explorer at 36 millimeters. Mm-hmm. I think the proportions are just lovely. Mm-hmm. And I think the Rolex watches always, it's interesting because they can fit, but they also wear a little big.
They do.
34 millimeter Rolex Oyster Perpetual dates, the old, those fit really well, and so do the 36s. So that's interesting that they're not stocking those, but those dials are pretty cool.
I know, and it's interesting that you mentioned that about the size, because I have my first luxury watch was that 34 millimeter Oyster Perpetual with the no date. Mm-hmm. In the white grape or champagne dial. And my vintage Explorer 1 is supposedly 36 millimeters. And when you put those two next to each other, they look almost identical size because the lugs are different sizes. So,
and the bezel is different size. And
so I think that coral red, I think that would suit me on an everyday basis. And it even got a little bit of a Western feel to it because of that coral. So I think Empress, you could rock that bluesy, and I could rock that coral red for sure.
Yeah.
Hint.
Well, hopefully it'll come through for you. I know you all have some really great relationships in the industry, so I hope you'll be able to get the coral 36, because that's lovely.
I think I'm sure they're out there. If we really, we could go to a David SW or something like that, but we try to stay loyal to our, like you said, we have really good. Our local AD, they've become good friends, so we try to stay loyal to them and buy those, the Rolex pieces from them.
Support
so it'll come in eventually. And the whole thing is, I'm sure the 41 is probably going to have better resale value than the 36, but we consciously try not to buy for resale value. You're always going to do well if you buy a Rolex, especially a sport, any of their sport pieces, but man, and people, our listeners will ask us, should I buy this one because it's going to have better resale? And I always tell them, buy the one that you want, that you're going to like more. Don't buy it for resale. That just let that stuff take care of itself. If you're buying for that, then you're not, I guess there's reasons for it, right? There are speculators out there, but buy the watch that you're passionate about and that fits you and that you want and that looks good on your wrist.
Well, and ADs do not want to see a flip. They really
correct.
That's kind of a big no-no. And you may ruin your relationship if you're just buying to invest.
If they find out you're flipping, yeah.
So,
well, I can't believe we're already over an hour. This is a lot of fun. We've gone through a lot of the stuff that we sent you guys in terms of what we wanted to cover, but what would you like to leave our listeners with in terms of collecting and watches and how you go about it? Is there anything that you'd like to leave our listeners with in terms of how you go about the hobby?
Philosophy.
And, kind of a philosophy of collecting.
Well, I think we kind of have talked about this. We tried to do a podcast. First of all, hats off to both of you for your longevity and excellent content.
Thank you.
Because I listen to your podcast when I'm walking the dogs, playing with them in the yard. I go through my cycle, and you are the first, if not the only podcast that I've found that was hosted by a couple. And I was so excited because you just don't hear that, there are a lot of dudes in this hobby, and it was just really cool to have two people in the same household collecting and to hear, perpetual girls' contributions too in the hobby. And so I guess, we tried to have a podcast. We tried not very hard. We recorded like 2 episodes, and then we realized we just couldn't get ourselves on a schedule. And so
it's tough.
That's how we initiated thinking that we would have a podcast, but we're not there for the long haul with that, but we really enjoy the content that you put out. And so I guess we talk a lot amongst ourselves about women collectors and marketing and things. And so I guess our parting words are just like, to women, enjoy the hobby, wear what you like, and don't worry about, even in terms of sizes, you can pull off whatever you're really into. So if you like a watch, wear it. And we've met some really cool ladies who are doing this, or connected with them on Instagram or YouTube. And so, and then all the dudes have been pretty welcoming and nice and stuff too. So we just, we just think about that, hey, women are out here and sometimes in the same household like us. And we dig watches.
I would also say, when your spouse decides to go off and buy that piece and completely forgets that you were next on the list, don't get too angry. Don't get too upset. Just be like, okay, dear.
Be patient.
But obviously don't ever let them forget it, right?
Right.
Just have little moments. Be like, but remember?
That's leverage there.
I know. I'll never let you forget about that. I blew my hip out riding my horse, and I'm recovering on the couch the day after the surgery. Yeah. And he comes in, look what I got. And I'm like, wait, I'm rubbing my eyes like, what?
Is that a Submariner?
Good timing, honey.
Well,
I think those are wise words, because
fantastic words.
Women are out there, the collectors are out there, and there are serious collectors, and that's I think a lot of us want to be seen as a serious collector and not as some sort of an object wearing a watch. And that's a whole other marketing topic for a different podcast. Is some women kind of push are we really looking at the watch, or are we looking at the women? So I think it's, like you said, you have a solid collection. You have the knowledge. You know the types of things that each of you like, and you're in the hobby for the hobby and for the watch. Which, there are a lot of serious female collectors, and I think that the guys really do welcome us, because I think perhaps their spouses or their partners, they're not quite into it. So they'll say, hey, check this out. They like this, and I think it's just a really neat way to connect with people and have a hobby.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Wonderful.
is.
Well, ladies, I have to say this, I wasn't aware that we were going to be recording this, and I think you told me a couple days ago that we were doing this.
Well,
So
no,
you guys
I had been talking about it, but
and maybe I forgot. But
know
you guys
how
have
that
been
goes.
in touch with PG on Instagram,
Yes.
and so
I've been
she
driving
was
the whole thing,
driving
yeah.
this whole thing. But I have to tell you, this has been a true pleasure. You guys are awesome. It's so fun to see a couple that's so similar to us and your collection and even your personalities. I've had a great time. I wish we could go on for another hour, but we do need to wrap up. And I just want to thank you both for taking the time. This has really, really been enjoyable.
And I feel like we have two new friends.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. Hey, if you're ever in Massachusetts, when all this is over, going on any trips, let us know.
Yeah.
And I'm from California, so we're out in sometimes the East Bay area. But who knows? Maybe there will be watch meetups again in person, and it would be a lovely thing to cross paths at some point.
We will make that happen for sure. Whether it's out here or out there or both, we will definitely make that happen. I would love to meet you guys in person.
Definitely.
Right on. Well, take care.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
so much.
And there you go.
There you have it. Penny and Empress, our new friends.
It was so fun recording with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I could have kept going. I definitely could have kept going. Lots of commonalities and just neat people.
A lot of things in common. So it was like having friends over and having a watch get together.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun.
I hope we could meet them in person someday. That'd be a blast. Yeah. And what great collections. I mean, not huge, but very thoughtful and some fantastic pieces. And that was probably, I don't know. I'm thinking that might have been the most fun I've had on the podcast for quite a while. It was pretty fun.
I think our Loving the Listeners are the most fun.
I mean, it is my favorite segment. It's turned out to be a segment that our listeners like and enjoy quite a bit because it's different. I mean, all of the podcasts have manufacturers on, and it's not that we don't like doing it. It's just that we tend to keep that part of the podcast smaller, right? Like there are some manufacturers like SWC, obviously, and Formax and Oris that we've kind of created friendships with and relationships, but we don't like to just constantly
seek out.
Yeah, we don't seek it out, and we don't want to be just slamming you guys with constant podcasts with manufacturers. This is not what we're about. We love having our listeners on. Those are so much fun. And we've made a lot of new friends that way.
Yeah, and we can talk about a lot of different manufacturers that way. Yeah.
So anyway, I think we're going to wrap because it was a long recording with the girls. And this is probably going to be about an hour and 15 or hour and 20 minute show, I would imagine. But anything we need to remind our users of?
Our users.
I mean, I'm sorry, our users, our listeners.
You need a vacation.
I do need it. It's coming up. We're getting close to the holidays. Next week is Christmas. Definitely could use a little bit of time off.
Yeah, and me with all the things going on, had to get all those surgeries in by the end of the year.
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy.
I got a little hammered this year.
2 surgeries and 2 chemo treatments in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit of a rough ride. But check us out on Instagram. We scaled back. If you guys haven't noted, I don't post at all on my account anymore.
I'm still there. Yeah.
Perpetual Girl is still out there. She still maintains our Love and Watches account, but we've said it many times. Social media is not what we're about. So that's more just to kind of let you guys know we're still here and what we're doing. But at the end of the day, it's about this show and about you guys. So. But feel free to go follow us, check out our website, and we do have the YouTube channel. We've got a couple fun ones up there. We did a review of the couple of new Oris pieces, and
those have been really popular.
They've been very popular, yeah. And like I said in the intro, I think we're going to try to do one of the bunker. Not sure when I'll get that out, but definitely try to get one out there for the bunker. So, all right, well. I think we can wrap. So for the Love and Watches podcast, this is Ranch Racer.
And this is Perpetual Girl, and we hope you guys have a fantastic week.
And a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year or Hanukkah or whatever holiday you celebrate. And we hope you enjoy time with your families and your loved ones. And we will be coming back to you guys after the first of the year.
Or sooner. You never know.
Oh, you never know. All right. See you later, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.